host, Kelly Springer. Kelly, how are you? Is it finally warming up? It's starting to. It's been a cold, cold May.
I'm
I can't wait to
still in a
June.
turtleneck. I'm still
Yes.
in a turtleneck. It has been raining, I swear, for 7 weeks. I think we're going to build an ark. I think we're going to blow away. I'm not really sure what's going on, but we are ready for summer. And I am truly excited because Kelly's Choice has just made a huge partnership with Verus Rx. And today we have an incredible guest. I cannot wait to dive into all the things that we're going to be working on and how exciting this is going to be. And truly a disruptor in the space. This is going to be so amazing. So I cannot wait. Today we are joined by Julie Wasserman, a dynamic leader in over 25 years in the employee benefits, currently the market vice president of sales of Verus Rx. And so that's where our partnerships comes in. But Julie combines her deep industry expertise with passion of personal wellness. She's also a certified personal trainer and motivates others at Orange Theory Fitness. Get ready to be inspired by Julie. So we are so excited to have you with us. We're going to dive into all the different things because there's a lot going on in our space. Food is medicine. How does that work? And I think that this partnership is just going to be revolutionary. I'm so excited.
We're excited about it because there's so much chatter about GLP-1s. Obviously, that's the low-hanging fruit. And every day there's something new being posted or publicized about how do we control those costs, and those costs are rising, and should employees be covering it for more than diabetes? And really, I even said today, I mentioned on a post today, I said maybe we should stop looking for the Band-Aid on the cost of GLP-1s and talk about the root of the cause and go there, which is, of course, why we're so excited about this partnership, because you can do only so much with medication, and it's fine. And I think like any other illness condition, medications are certainly helpful and should be utilized, but it's a medication that if we could feasibly get somebody weaned off of, that should be the goal, not more medication. So, which is why we're here. And I believe that's where we have an opportunity to change the game.
And Julie, will you explain Verus Rx? Because when I first learned about PBMs, I didn't understand the industry. I didn't understand what they were. And then also how you're different, because I think that this is something is truly educational for all of our listeners.
Sure. VerisRx is a full service PBM. And to your point, the PBM market, or what we do, is all over the news now. But to simplify, we administer the claims for pharmacy claims. And there's a lot of us out there. As essentially, we are viewed as a middleman, and we are. But the difference being there are certain middlemen that like to take their cut of things, which is what you're hearing in the news today. And there are those of us who are saying, listen, we are going to administer your claims. We're going to try to get you the deepest discount we can on the drugs that are being prescribed. And we're also going to try to find the lowest net cost for those drugs that are being prescribed. So there's different ways to do that, of course. And everybody, not everybody, but most of us, especially in the market we're in, have some level of these programs to say, let us help you get patient assistance, or let us source this drug from top tier 1 countries, and so we didn't recreate the wheel in that aspect. What we have done, though, is we've brought it in-house. We own and operate every piece of it, which what I always say is our goal is to help the member. The member is really where it's all at. So what we're trying to do here is get the members to be taking, first of all, the right drug, obviously. Secondly, once it's determined, yes, that is the right drug, how do we help them access that drug at the lowest cost to them, which in turn helps their employer, because the lowest cost to them also means the lowest net cost overall. And so we have really flipped the script on talking about saving the employer, which of course we would like to do, but it starts and ends with the member. And the members most people don't have healthcare literacy. I think it's 7% in this country. They don't understand. They're just like, my doctor told me to take this drug, and I just want to go down to the Walgreens, Costco, mom and pop store and pick up my prescription. And so we want to help them say, absolutely, you should always be on the prescription. We never want you to be without it. But let us help you get that medicine at a lower cost, because we can. And so that's like the starting point of why we are different. We are solely just, let's help your members, and Mr. Employer, Mrs. Employer, that in turn will help you. And now what we're trying to do beyond that here with our partnership here is say, okay, we know that you're on this medication. Let us help you wean off of it if we can. Which
Yeah.
is a little bit opposite of a lot of PBMs will talk about the more prescriptions are filled, the more money a PBM makes. So it's why would a PBM want you to get off the prescription? Because it's better for the member.
And so, Neil, isn't this amazing? So
Yeah.
we're going to partner together to offer nutrition education in a way that truly can do exactly what Julie's saying. So if we're talking about fatty liver disease, do you know how expensive that medication is to an employer? So just
Oh,
for
yeah.
instance, we had someone taking this medication. He was a retired corrections officer. It was costing our New York State, because he's under the Empire plan, was costing New York State $3,000 a month. In 12 weeks, we were able to reverse his fatty liver disease. We were able to get those levels normal, and we were able to get him off of that medication. And that's one person. He was
Right.
also on blood pressure meds and type 2 diabetic meds, off all in
Fantastic.
3 months.
Exactly. And to your point, we started with GLP-1s or the low-hanging fruit. It does not stop there. You're talking about all other kinds of conditions that can be helped, either mitigate medication, wean them off medication, or at the very least, lower their dosage. It's every little bit counts, and you have to have the engagement of the member. But when you create an environment that is fun, engaging, educational, then that's where we all win. And again, we're so excited for this because we are able to say, listen, we're doing more than just filling your medication. And we're doing more than just filling your medication at the lowest net cost. We're actually trying to help your members get off these meds.
Totally.
It's a different play from a PBM for sure.
Mhm.
I think so. And when I'm hearing you, it's just like this is a goal, right? When you do
Yeah,
this, the expenses are ridiculous, as Kelly was talking about
it's
with
insane.
health insurance, and you're off these medications. That means you're going to be healthier. So, because of certain medications, we all know cause side effects. Those side effects end
Right.
up getting you in the hospital. Those side effects end up making you gain weight, which means then you get on another medication. Then
Well,
you have to go to another
right.
doctor
That's
visit.
the
It's a
thing.
snowball.
And then it
So,
just go
right,
color.
Neil, if you listen to some of the commercials that are out there, there's actually medications now for the side effects of
Right.
medications. It's
Well,
It's crazy.
I think soon
It's
that's going to
this.
be off the air. I'm hearing that might be the end of. We soon will be done seeing those commercials. I hope.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's true. It's slap a medication on it. And again, no disrespect to folks. There are medications out there that are absolutely necessary,
yes, yes,
and you should
correct.
do whatever you can to be healthy. But if you can get off of them by being more healthy, that's the goal. And our country's relied on medications as the quick fix. And it's unfortunate because, Neil, to your point too, it snowballs into it fixes one problem only to start another problem. And then it's just this
Another
death
problem.
spiral
Another
that we
another
seem to be
problem.
in.
And that's where it's so important. So, Julie, explain like the process. Is who do you work with?
As far as who does Verus work with? So we our end user, if you will, is a client, an employer. We typically are working through their consultants to bring our solution to the table. So there's a distribution channel. Typically we would not work direct, although if an employer called me up today and said, Julie, we love Verus, let's do it. Great. But it is consultants are out there for a reason because clients, again, people don't necessarily have the knowledge about benefits, and there's so much more to it, right, than just prescriptions. There's medical and there's point solutions and there's administration and there's technology. There's all kinds of things. I was a consultant for a very long time. And you have to help your client with budgets and goals and strategies. And so we work with those consultants to say, build us into your strategy.
And you're talking insurance brokers, correct, Julie?
I am, and yeah, and I always say consultants now, and they brokers, consultants, it's intermixed. I
Okay.
feel like today you have to be more consultative than just brokering. I think a brokering is like the financial sort of transactions.
Okay.
That's just a personal thing and whatever. But consulting takes knowledge and strategy and understanding of the systems, and then also being able to prove out the return on your investment, the return on the strategy that you've put together.
Yeah. So does that make sense, Neil? So basically you have these different consultants, brokers out there that we're going to be doing an event coming up in June, then one in July, to educate these consultants on the difference that we're bringing to the table, this partnership and how it differs from any other PBM that is out there, and how this is going to truly help that employer group to lower costs automatically, like really right out of the gate. And then with the nutrition education partnered in together, it's going to have even more of a cost savings and increased productivity across the board. So it's not even just lowering cost, you're actually going to bring in money. And we've been able to prove that. We know if we can get people healthier, they are more productive, they show up at work, they're less absenteeism. It's literally, you go from here to here. It's
you go from a death spiral to
yeah,
like rolling back up, which is like all these things you can build upon to really drive up productivity and drive up employee health and just make it a better work environment. So it's really turning things around. And it has a huge impact. And I'm glad, because I know you've worked directly with employers and I know you've worked with consultants, but they do need to understand the value of this so they can say to their client, here's a strategy we really need to think about and implement. We've been talking every year about like mitigating costs and dealing with renewals, and it's the same old, and there has to be something that just stops that madness and turns it in the other direction.
Absolutely. And we finally, I feel in 2025 is the very first time, because I've been in this field for since 1997. But this is the first year where it has gone to a nice thing to have to a full need to have.
Yeah.
The pendulum has just switched completely. And I think it was the tipping of the GLP-1s. I think we knew it was tipping with diabetes and blood pressure and things like that. When the GLP-1s came in, it just was like, what do we do?
Yeah. It's interesting that it took us that long because all the other things were so obvious. And you did see here and there point solutions coming out to try to look at the diabetics or look at MSK or look at heart conditions. But they're siloed and they're great, but it's like very broken. And sometimes when you look at it, if you think about it, most of them are all stemming from the same thing. MSK issues could be from obesity, diabetes, heart conditions, like it all rolls together. Like when you look at the common denominator there, it's
nutrition,
lifestyle choices, it's health.
And when we really break it down, and Neil knows I talk about this all the time, when you break it down, it's a lack of education. It really is. And when we talk to the physicians, I just spoke last week at Upstate Medical, and the cardiologist was like, I now realize nutrition's the key. This is what she said to me. I now realize nutrition's the key. And I'm thinking about getting like my own certification or whatever. And it was just a really aha moment for this woman. And she was in my class and I was talking about GLP-1s. But I think that the medical system, they haven't been taught either. So we have an entire US population that hasn't had education, and we have the medical side that hasn't had education. And this is where we are. And I think that if we're able, and I said this yesterday, I believe the key is teaching in schools and teaching at work sites. If we can schools and we can teach at work sites, we can address the majority of the population. Because the flyers are going to be coming home in the school and we're going to be educating them at that work site. And I think those are the two places where we can make the most impact.
You raise them, like I said, raise them or start them young, raise them right. Like you can get there early on. It's important. And I have seen some schools, which is really nice to see, switching out their food services to healthier. It's not enough, right? The kids, whatever, this is the hamburger that I got today, but they need to learn it. And I try to teach it to my kids, but I'm one person and that's just because I'm passionate about it. But I think understanding it truly from the health perspective of just growing up like in that environment, it'll take some time, but I agree, like education is key. To the fact that like the medical professionals are like not thinking about that, which I suppose I get. They're just busy treating.
They're not trained in it. So just this morning, I actually put together for my team to come up with protocols of when the doctor should refer. They
Right.
don't even have that. And so when I just spoke at Upstate, they said, do you know that your talk is the most requested back? And they're asking now at Upstate Medical for me to put together a course for the residents. But
That's
this is
awesome.
where it's not even in there.
Right.
And every time I come in, they're like, really? We weren't educated on that. We know how the kidney works, but we didn't know when they eat simple carbohydrates that it's actually going in and affecting those little tiny blood vessels. There's the correlation is not tied together. So
That's
I think that our education together with being able to partner Kelly's Choice Education with Verus, I just think it's going to be such, as you can tell, I'm so unbelievably excited.
We are too, and I think the added piece of that is because we are going to have data flow back and forth. It's that like it's early identification and trying to catch it. So it's not, we've talked about the clinical, like everybody asks us, like, what are you doing from a clinical perspective? And there's, of course, all those sort of standard things we're doing, but now it's, we're adding to this in, it's not necessarily like we can do, it's not prior auth, let's call it. But if what we've suggested is, if an employer decides to cover it for weight loss, which I personally think they should, because again, it's still a cost, it's a condition that needs to be addressed, but it would require participation. So we are going to cover this for weight loss, but part of that means you also have to be participating in these types of programs because we don't want you to be on that drug forever either. So I think, and that's again, everyone's like, should we cover it? Should we not? And now we're talking about covering it for more than even just diabetes or weight loss. So yes, cover it like any other drug that's helping a person with their condition, but also you also have to help yourself. And so our goal is we'll cover it, but you're going to have to do all these things because ultimately we don't want you to be on it. And that's not even a cost thing. That's like for your own health.
So Neil, what Julie
Yeah.
said too, which is going to be so unbelievable for us, because as dietitians, it's really hard for us to get data. Now with this, we're going to be able to actually see how it's affecting the amount of medications they're on.
Right.
We are going to be implementing, it's called a remote patient monitoring, where we have scales and blood pressure cuff. We're going to actually be able
Wow.
to get the ROI, which is again so exciting for me because as of yesterday, just so you all know, I got nominated to be on the National Academy for Policy and Action. So this is where
Wonderful.
I know it was
Yes.
actually a huge day. But the whole point is dietitians have a hard time getting the data that we need to show how incredible our programs are.
The ROI, you have to be able
It's
to.
so
It's
hard.
really hard
Yeah.
to do though.
It's really hard to do. So like that's another reason why I'm so excited for both our remote patient monitoring, which my husband's going to help to lead. And as a doctor, I'm like, let's put this to good use. And then with Verus, we're going to be able to get actual ROI data to prove what the program can do. And I think that's where I'm just over the moon.
And I think it's a
Agreed.
key thing is you have to have the data for the program to continue, Kelly.
Yes.
Explain this is finally what's happening is we're finally seeing data driven results means
Yes.
more opportunities.
It does mean more opportunities. And I think also people want to see their own results, right? So if we're able to show them that by giving them a scale and giving them the blood pressure cuff and being able to work with their physician, they also feel like they're supported and they're seeing the results too. I think that with all of this in combination, from the education to being able to see the results, we're going to be able to say to work sites, we know this program works and here's the results. And we have a lot of it already. We have a white paper. We have a lot of different things already reported. But this is like next level. This is really bringing us to that point where we can start to put protocols in place.
You correlating it back to prescription usage and the stats you already have today on your ROI are phenomenal. But that is always the crux of any of these programs, is trying to prove it out. And you have, but this is one more level in which you can say, here's hard data that this group went from X to X minus on medications, and that's real savings. And again, as a consultant, it was always this idea of like, how do we prove it out? And in the past, wellness programs, in my personal opinion, were just They weren't built. The biometric screenings can only do stuff like
Well,
can only do so much.
There really truly wasn't dietitian, and that's where
Nothing.
Jordan's building our decks right now. And I said, we are evidence-based, dietitian driven, that truly, and that's the difference. A lot of the wellness programs in the past, and I'm even seeing today, are just like very fluffy. They don't get into the meat of, what is a carbohydrate? What is a protein? How do you put this together? How do you eat out? How do you do mindfulness? How do you do this behavior change over this period of time to actually see success?
Fantastic.
There's never been that in the environment. And quite frankly, some of the things that you've taught us on our calls is fascinating. And things that I'm a huge fitness freak and I eat healthy, but like truly some of the things you talked about with how it impacts different organs, it was like, really? And I guess I wouldn't know that. I'm not a doctor, but those are things that even I now can incorporate. Is you don't think about some of those things. I'm thinking about getting my kid enough protein and getting my kid enough healthy carbs and all those things. But then you talk about some of the other food driven things that impact your organs that I would have never even thought about.
Absolutely.
So we learn something new every time we talk to Kelly.
All right.
Well,
Best play. Oh, Kelly, because we got one more.
yes. And I was going to say, Neil, we're going to do a follow-up in 3 months, just so you know. I want to get it on the books, Julie, because I want to show exactly what we were able to do in just a short 3 months and who we were able to impact. We're going to get it scheduled right away. Go, Neil.
All right. So, Julie, best place we can find information on you, on the company and stuff. Sounds fantastic. And I know lots of people who watch my show as well and listen to my show and check out the podcast know how they're going to get that information. But where can they go?
Well, a couple places, obviously. We would love for anybody to reach out to us because I would love, let's send people to our website, right? Which is verus-rx.com. But a website is a website. And so it's let us have a conversation because it goes so much further than what you can read on a page. Start there. But you can find me obviously on LinkedIn to connect with me. And you can find my coworker, Hannah Denson, on LinkedIn, and she's wonderful. And she's in the Northeast. Start with the website. If you guys want to throw emails into your chat, feel free to do that. They can reach out to me directly. I could talk about it all day long. The more people I can get in front of, the better. And just to have the conversation, because it's a conversation that needs to be had.
And
Excellent.
anyone can reach out to me. I'll connect you.
Or
So
Kelly.
if you go to kellyschoice.org, if you email me at kellyspringer@live.com, I will connect you. I am, as you can tell, like this podcast, this is going to be revolutionary. I cannot wait to see what we can do.
I love what you said, Kelly. Appreciate it, Julie. Thanks again for all the information.
No, thank you for having me. I love it. Thank you so much.
That was the special simulcast Neil Haley Show and Talk Nutrition to Me with Kelly Springer. Guys, take care.